Hi, I'm Bianca probably, and I probably watch too many movies. I do not know if you can tell by the lighting, but I'm black. Shocking new information, I'm sure. I'm also a horror hound. I've been watching horror movies for pretty much all my life. One of the first horror movies I watched with my dad was Blackula. I literally fall asleep to horror movie recaps, and I have Ghostface tattooed on my arm, so I feel like I have the credentials to say I am a horror movie fan. But for me, growing up as a black fan of horror, I didn't get to see as much representation as I would have liked. For me, growing up, I had, Candyman and Tales of the Hood, and sometimes your sequel sidekicks, and no disparagement to them, but our examples are eclipsed by the sheer landscape of horror. I'm happy to say that has been changing in the horror movie industry. You're seeing a lot more black leads. Half the core 4 in Scream 6 is black, and you could never make me hate Mindy and Chad, never ever ever. But the one I want to talk about today, and the reason you clicked on this video, is The Blackening. If we back it up a little bit, there was a sketch from a group called Threepeat that was called The Blackening, and it directly plays into the trope of black people dying first in horror movies. The premise of the sketch is that there are a group of black friends camping, and they get chased by a crazed serial killer, and he tells them that they can all live except one, whoever is the blackest, and they have to choose who the blackest is. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest it. It's super funny, and you'll see a lot of things that are repurposed or reused for the movie. Dwayne Perkins, who appears in the original sketch, teamed up with Tracy Oliver to write a feature-length script. The final product in the movie would include a lot of improvised dialogue, but I think that's great. I think the chemistry between the cast is amazing, and it just makes it feel a lot more dynamic. Tracy Oliver is really cool because she wrote on the original Misadventures of an Awkward Black Girl, not Insecure. I'm talking about the blueprint of Insecure, and I just think that's really cool. She's also written on shows like Harlem. After being announced in 2020, we finally got the movie on Juneteenth weekend in 2023, and that is amazing and delightfully black. And the movie would go on to earn 3 times its budget. If you don't know what Juneteenth is, or you didn't know it existed until 2020, Juneteenth is the celebration of when the executive order was signed to free all enslaved people. This happened on June 19th, 1865, therefore becoming Juneteenth. So me and my family would absolutely cook out for July 4th because it was a reason to grill out on a day off, but my freedom day has always been known as Juneteenth. Before we get into the movie, I want to talk about the main cast that we follow throughout it. Dwayne Perkins is pulling double duty as a writer as well as an actor, and he portrays Dwayne in the movie. He is a hilarious comedian, writer, and actor, and his credits include Brooklyn Nine-Nine and The Upshaws. Antoinette Robertson plays Lisa, who you may have seen on Dear White People on Netflix, or if you're one of my aunties, the haves and the have-nots. Ex-Mayo plays Shanika, and she works as a writer and actor on shows like The Daily Show and American Auto and Swarm. Allison is played by Grace Byers, famed for her role as the one and only Boo Boo Kitty from Empire. If you were not on Twitter during the Empire era, bitch, you missed out. That was a time. So many delicious memes we got from that era. Melvin Gregg plays King, and he is known for his roles in American Vandal and Snowfall, but I remember watching him on my couch over a decade ago on Vine. I am so old. And Jermaine Fowler plays the awkward Clifton, and his filmography is very extensive. It includes Sorry to Bother You, BoJack Horseman, and like a lot more. Hi, this is clearly editing Bianca. I can't fake the funk. I forgot Sinqua Walls when doing the main cast recap. No disparagement to that man. I think he's really cool. I think he's a nice seeming guy. He's a good actor. He's in cool stuff. He was in Teen Wolf and Power, and most recently American Soul. He was also in the new White Men Can't Jump, so he does stuff. I don't know why I forgot him. I don't know. I don't know. My bad. So now let's get into the movie itself. The movie follows a group of black college friends getting together for a reunion during Juneteenth weekend at a cabin. We open on Morgan, played by Yvonne Orji, setting up everything a day ahead of the rest of the group. She does get a little scared by her boyfriend Sean, played by comic Jay Farrow, and he snags her to show her a room with a green door that says game room. When they enter, the room has a game on the table, and it's called The Blackening, and when they unbox it, they are met with this racist ass Sambo caricature right in the middle of the board. After taking some cancelable pictures to be uploaded once they get a signal in civilization again, the game starts to talk to them and tells them to pick a card. The card tells them to pick a black person from a horror movie that survives the entire time, or they're gonna be dead. Sean confidently says Omar Epps and Jada Pinkett Smith from Scream 2, but just as Morgan knows, and what every Scream fan knows, they are actually the first to die.
I honestly think that the studio didn't have the budget to keep him the whole movie. That's why they had to die first.
Seeing as one is from HBO and the other is from SNL, I think they are SOL. After they dump out all the game pieces, they notice that one of them looks like Morgan's earring. Just as they come to that realization, the game tells them that they have taken too long and now they gotta go. They realize the vibes are very off when the lights go down and they start to hear heavy breathing around them. Morgan's phone flashlight does very little to protect them because Sean absolutely catches an arrow in the neck. Shortly after that, Morgan is abducted by someone wearing probably the second most racist mask you've seen in your life. Next day, we see Lisa, Allison, and Dwayne driving up to the cabin. After Dwayne catches wind that there may be someone he does not want to see there, he asks the gold standard of blackouting questions.
Who all gonna be there?
Allison and Lisa then start to communicate with their eyes whether they should tell Dwayne who all is going to be there. Black eye communication is not anything new, but this movie takes it a step further and depicts it as straight up telepathy. But sometimes it can feel like that, I will say. Dwayne still seems to be dead set on having a good time.
As long as Namdi's not there.
We switch to Shanika pulling up to your very stereotypically creepy gas station to get some wine and some wrap snacks. I want to know who at this particular gas station is ordering wrap snacks. Like who has that on the inventory list? Who in this area is ordering wrap snacks? When she's trying to avoid uncomfortable stares, she ends up running into a former classmate, Clifton. He too is going to the reunion and was left stranded when his Hyundai died up the road and he couldn't find an Android charger for his dead phone.
I'm sorry, that does suck.
It does.
Not the car, the Android.
Despite the fact that she is against the green text life, she does offer to give him a ride. When Lisa, Allison, and Dwayne pull up, they have to resolve an issue with one of their friends, King, being questioned by a park ranger, Ranger White. Ranger White is played by somebody's favorite Batman, Diedrich Bader. They prove that they are indeed supposed to be there, and Ranger White apologizes, saying that he's not used to the cabin being rented to anyone other than
White people.
After Ranger White leaves, we see the energy shift because Dwayne sees that Nnamdi is joining the group for the weekend. Dwayne still has a lot of resentment towards Nnamdi for how he acted in college when he was dating Lisa. Lisa assures Dwayne that people can grow and that they are just friends. To calm him down, Lisa tells him to open his mouth and close his eyes, and she pops a happy fun time drug pill into it.
Now stop being sad and pressed.
Do not do this to people, by the way. Don't think that the shit is cute because you saw it in a movie once. Don't just put controlled substances into your friends' mouths without them knowing. Everyone goes into the house to get settled. Allison is putting stuff in her bedroom when she notices the suspicious green door, now signless and locked. King is making Kool-Aid, and of course he's not using a measuring cup because A, we make it as sweet as we want to, this is our house, and B, we're not dirtying another dish just to make some damn juice. He may have made it a little too sweet.
Sugar fuck around and give you a crib.
King and Nnamdi have a one-on-one talk, and they talk about how Nnamdi's growing up and he's dedicating his time to his work and only one woman. King also catches some strays for having a white wife.
She ethnic white. She Armenian.
Later in the evening, Lisa and Allison are running the spades tables while Dwayne's drugs finally start drugging and he starts dancing around. While Dwayne is feeling himself, Lisa and Nnamdi go upstairs and we see that they are a little bit more than friends. After having a little conflict on how to deal with their relationship as it relates to Dwayne, they end up having a little bit of sexy time. Dwayne goes to wash his clothes and swap outfits in the laundry room when he notices Morgan's earring on the floor. Shortly after that, he notices a door creak open to the outside and he pulls that shit closed and locks it for good measure because investigate alone has some white people shit. He does get a quick scare from Shanika when she pops up in the window before he tells her to go through the main entrance and she appears with Clifton. Lisa comes down to greet her a little disheveled and gets pulled into a quick hug.
Oh, you smell like dick.
Nnamdi soon follows, and since 2 and 2 do go together, her business is now out on Front Street. Dwayne walks in on this revelation and says that he's super totally fine and has a toast to prove that he is super absolutely totally fine.
Cheers to having standards and self-respect.
After they take that super sweet shot,
Watch yourself get some cramps.
Shut up.
they start to set up for another spades game. Clifton asks if he can be taught to play, and that is immediately met with no's. There is no teacher at this table. Now this for me feels like the part I most identify with in the movie. I don't know how to play spades. I don't. Half of my family is more Bitwist people and the other half of the family never cared to teach me. As Patrick Cloud once said, when have you seen a spades table that looked like a learning environment? Shortly after this, the power shuts down in the entire house. Between the shifty movement outside and their black asses just simply knowing better, they stick together to try to find a fuse box. They wind up back at the green door, now marked again as the game room, and it happens to be unlocked. They are too greeted by the same game Morgan and Sean saw last night.
Jim Crow Monopoly.
There under the impression that Sean and Morgan are both safe and sound and just playing a trick on them because they didn't see the beginning of the movie like we did. They think that this is just one of the games for the weekend, especially since they see their own specialized tokens. Their joy is quickly diminished when the game board tells them that they must answer 10 questions in a timely manner to save Morgan's life and themselves. Before they get a chance to assess the situation, the door locks. A TV cuts on to show Morgan strapped to a chair. The TV also flashes with a kill confirmation on Sean. And when TVs cut on in this movie, they play Camptown Races. If you know Camptown Races as this cute little song that you used to sing in elementary school, I'm sorry to ruin it for you, but baby, that was the hottest tune at minstrel shows. The song has since been sanitized, but the original lyrics are racist as hell, like most nursery rhymes. Actually. Despite being weary and scared, they go on to play the game. The game has trivia questions that range from civil rights leaders to black sitcom moms. Just like everybody else in the movie, I was following along and answering the questions to myself, and I felt very confident until the question about the second verse of the Black National Anthem comes up. Oh, bitch, I would be dead as disco. My mama don't even know the second verse of the Black National Anthem. No, maybe she does. But I bet she'd have to Google it. They're doing pretty good until they're asked to name 5 black actors that appeared on Friends. And while they do successfully name the 5 black actors that have been on Friends, probably all 5 of them, and according to my findings, they only have about 27 to choose from, most of them unnamed. While they do manage to name 5 of the 27 that appeared in that show, that was not the answer the game board was looking for.
I don't know. I don't watch that show. I watch Living Single.
Put me in, coach, because that's what I would have said. In a 90s kind of world, I'm glad I got my girl. Anytime people get mad at me for not watching Friends, I ask if they've seen Living Single, and the answer is always no. The live feed cuts back to Morgan, and she actually manages to escape because the plan to scalp her ends up backfiring.
Ooh, bitch, that's some good ass squid glue. Now get the fuck up out of there.
With the game room door now unlocked, they try to leave the house but find that they are unable to exit. And even if they could, all their cars took an arrow to the knee, so they're not going anywhere. A TV cuts on and we see that Morgan is in the basement stairway with the killer close behind her. They hear Morgan banging on the locked basement door. King retrieves his gun that he denied having earlier to shoot off the lock. The door is now open and it's shrouded in darkness, and instead of seeing Morgan emerge, they see an arrow go right into King's shoulder. Half the group goes to block the killer from entering and the other half tends to King's wound. After getting a knife from Lisa, Shanika manages to stab the killer in the foot and close the door. They think the job is done for some reason, even though they just shot off the lock and everybody in the room saw that happen. This negligent ass move gets King shot in the shoulder again right after he just got the first one out. Namdi wards the killer off using the remaining bullets in King's gun, and they retreat back to the game room. Allison manages to stab herself in the shoulder after pulling the arrow out of King's, leaving the group with 2 lightly maimed lightskins. The game now demands that they must vote on who the blackest is, and that person will die while sparing the rest of their lives. This part is directly inspired from the original sketch. We see a lot of the same lines from the OG sketch.
Shanika, she say nigga the most.
Nigga! But this one in particular gets an upgrade since it's past the 2020 election.
I voted for Trump.
Twice?
Crunch for time and upset at the MAGA of it all, they end up deploying the deplorable.
All lives matter.
It's locked again when a remorseful Namdi tries to go get him. A live feed shows Clifton getting shot outside with an arrow and being dragged off screen. Not everyone feels too bad about this though.
I mean, he did vote for Trump twice.
The game says that they did not fulfill their request because Clifton didn't vote. Therefore, they all didn't vote, meaning that it is invalid. The killer now appears on the TV after their outright refusal to continue to participate. They have 3 minutes to decide if they want to stay in the house or try their luck in the woods because the doors will unlock. They run around and start to arm themselves, but since they run out of knives, they have to get a little unconventional. Allison gets chili powder and Lisa gets judged for her choice of picking up a candlestick.
Don't start with me. I could fuck somebody up with this.
Shanika also manages to give Allison Adderall by accident instead of painkillers from her purse pharmacy, so now her alertness is on 10. Shanika, Allison, and King would rather run outside to get to safety, but Namdi, Lisa, and Dwayne would rather stay put. This leads them to make a highly questionable horror movie decision.
We have to split up.
With the set it off send off, the respective groups separate. The indoor crew go to the basement and try to find Morgan, and the outdoor crew deal with Allison being off the Addy.
I'm just gonna sit here with my feelings.
They end up finding some weirdness in the basement. Blood smears, cameras, a well, and a flag from some traitorous losers. I've had last longer than the Confederacy, and they don't get their own flag. The group outside ends up losing their way and Allison. Shanika goes to swim across the lake, and King opts to hide at a tree because he doesn't know how to swim.
Would it be a fucking
stereotype.
After hearing footsteps from above, they go upstairs and they are greeted by Ranger White himself. Cautious of being face to face with law enforcement, they drop their weapons and raise their hands. Ranger White insists that he's one of the good ones, which is usually a red flag. Ranger White tries to call for help, but he is quickly informed of the signal blockers preventing calls out. He articulates his allyship at least enough for them to trust each other. They catch him up on what's been going on and tell him that half their friends are in the woods because they split up.
But you're all black.
Whoa, do not get comfortable.
Before they go off to safety, Ranger White investigates a strange noise despite the protests from the black people in the car. When the killer appears and starts shooting arrows at Shanika in the water, King opts to drop on top of him and they start to tussle. King does end up getting an advantage over him, however, right before he goes to deliver a game-winning kick, Chekhov's Kool-Aid has now caused a cramp and the killer has an opportunity to stab him in the leg. Allison reemerges with dirt on her face and makeshift Wolverine claws. She then goes to pummel the killer to absolute death.
Nigga.
This is the point in the movie where I was like, oh, this is wish fulfillment. How many times have you talked to a black person about a scary situation or a horror movie and they go, if it were me, I would grab those arrows, put them between my fingers and shred him to death. That's exactly what this movie is. They inspect the body and after unmasking the man, Shanika recognizes him from the gas station earlier. They find an inhaler and not only does that explain the asthmatic breathing, they see that his address is the address of the cabin that they're staying in. They also find that their troubles are not over because his feet are very unstabbed, meaning that there is another killer loose, and they need to tell the others. The folks in the car are still waiting for Ranger White, confused why he left in the first place. They question his motives, and a possible explanation arises when Lisa finds a blackface mask in the passenger seat. They attempt to leave the car, but they are met with crossbow arrows from the remaining killer. Ranger White comes back to the locked car, and he fails to prove his innocence to gain entry. Proof unfortunately comes in the form of an arrow through the neck. They do manage to get out of the car, however, Nnamdi and Lisa make it to the woods while Dwayne can't manage to do so. Taking Dwayne's joke blessing to run off without him as gospel, they rush off. Lisa and Nnamdi are now hiding an event that Lisa actually found earlier in the evening right before her sneaky link. The killer stalks around the house, unable to find them on the camera feed. He ends up getting pretty close to their location, but then a record starts playing from the living room and he walks off to see what that's about. We found out that the person putting the records on is Dwayne and he appears at the vent pissed.
You think to leave you, nigga, you know I didn't mean that shit.
He finds his way into the largest residential vent I have ever seen in my life, and they start to argue about the state of their friendship again. Dwayne feels abandoned and blindsided by Lisa's decision to get back with Nnamdi and leaving him in the dark about it, which obviously is a good enough reason to have this conversation while a murderous maniac is chasing you. After turning off the signal blockers to the house, the killer manages to track them down due to the notifications on their phone.
Kiki Palmer retweeted my tweet.
He puts his face up directly to the vent, and this causes Dwayne to vomit from his nerves. When the madness first started earlier in the evening, Dwayne mentioned that this was a possibility. After the killer falls backwards down the stairs, they scramble out of the vent and another fight ensues. By the end of it, Dwayne ends up putting an arrow in the killer's head. Kinda, sorta. They don't take in this apparent victory at all and get right back into arguing. Turns out the killer's thick-ass hand prevents him from getting shot in his thick-ass skull, and they're too caught up in fighting to even notice it. Luckily, the other group comes in just in time to put another arrow through him, and Lisa finishes the job with her candlestick, proving to be a more effective weapon than previously thought. After a round of apologies, they investigate the body. Since Lisa has made him unidentifiable, they check his wallet for his ID and see that he is the twin brother of the man they found in the woods. They also find a family portrait backing this up. We actually see the same portrait at the beginning when Morgan replaces it with a photo of the group. They also find an envelope that has a list of their names and $1,000 inside, appearing to be payment for their lives.
This is all we worth? It's like $1,000. This is offensive. Oh my God.
All of them except King and Allison opt to head to the basement to check out the command center. Before they head down there, Allison now arms Dwayne with the chili powder she had earlier.
What the fuck is wrong with her?
Nigga, it's the Adderall.
They see Clifton and Officer White's bodies staged downstairs next to a newspaper article detailing Clifton's vehicular manslaughter. The computer suddenly turns on and they see a clip of a figure dumping bodies, and the camera reveals that it is ... Clifton. Clifton rises from his chair and shows that he is not only very alive, but he is also holding a trigger to explosives that he set up in the basement. Clifton gets control of the crossbow, and before Allison can block the door from closing, he locks it. Clifton forces the friends in the basement to play a game of questions that ultimately reveal what happened the night of the Juneteenth party years and years ago. There was a $1,000 pot for spades, and Clifton loved games, but he never knew how to play spades because nobody plays spades in Vermont! He ended up reneging when he thought he was out of clubs, and if you don't play spades, like I don't play spades, that's bad.
And it could have happened to anybody.
Not to niggas who know how to play.
When he felt humiliated and felt like he wasn't black enough to be around them, he got drunk for the first time, drove drunk, and ended up hitting and killing a nurse and got 4 years in prison.
4 years for manslaughter?
Feeling like his life was taken away, he sought retribution in employing the twins. But since they didn't finish the job, he explained that he would kill them and dump them down the well, just like he did Sean and Morgan.
Nigga indeed.
The Clifton reveal really isn't a surprise. It's coded pretty early, no one in the group remembers him, no one knows how he got invited.
I don't know that nigga.
And he's mad sus pretty much the entire time. Also, Apple has a no villain clause when they do product placement in media. And Clifton is pretty anti-iPhone at the beginning of this movie.
We all know Androids have the superior operating systems.
Wrong.
But it was the reasoning that sent me into orbit. Crying, laughing in the theater. I have caught so much shit for not knowing spades over the years. And I am not saying that I would go on a murder spree because people told me,
Yeah, nigga, your black card's revoked.
but like I'm saying, I see how we got here. Allison and King managed to get a live feed in the basement and catch up on what's going on. They figure that one of the killers had to have a panel on them to control the lights and the doors while Clifton was with the rest of the group, so they go off to search his body to find it. Clifton forces Lisa to choose who the blackest is because he really liked that game even though he lost it the first time. Dwayne persuades Lisa to participate through a mind link. Clifton is distracted by Lisa offering up herself as the blackest, sending a crash report to his brain. Dwayne then goes on to mind link with Namdi to try to plot a surprise attack on Clifton. However, Clifton is crazy, but he's still black, so he can absolutely tap into the sneaky mind linky moment as well.
Did you hear all of that?
Yes, motherfucker, I did.
Clifton lets a shot loose that Namdi ends up catching for Lisa. Before he can fire another one, King and Allison manage to cut the power. Dwayne and Clifton start fighting in the dark, and Shanika ends up with a crossbow. Shanika wants to shoot Clifton, but she can't see anything because of the darkness.
Dwayne, I don't want to shoot you. Say something gay.
Use that as defensive. How fucking dare you?
With the power of pride, Shanika lands a shot on Clifton. To get his fingers off the trigger of the explosives, Dwayne has the bright idea to blast Clifton right in the face with chili powder. Properly hindered, Dwayne ends up kicking him down the well to his defeat. However, we do hear a conniving laugh echo. Ooh. At the end of it all, they're thankful to still be alive, then wonder what they do now.
Call the cops?
Dwayne comes up with an idea and a costume change. They call firefighters because they can't shoot them, but they can come save them. However, this doesn't go exactly as planned because then they get hosed off screen. If I look annoyed, it's because I've had to do this outro a billion times. It's a whole different goddamn day, so bear with me. This movie feels unapologetically black. It feels black in a way that does not care if you get it or not. It doesn't feel like it's trying to curate its content to be palatable for non-black audiences. And I'm not saying if you're black, you're guaranteed to like this movie. And I'm not saying if you're not black, you can't take anything away from this movie. I'm saying if you're not black, this movie wasn't made for you. And that's okay. There are just so many cultural nuances and references that are so vivid to me. And I gained so much enjoyment from them from watching that I know would stump a non-black person. I don't expect non-black people to catch a Love Jones reference. I don't expect a non-black person to catch the Color Purple reference. I don't expect a non-black person to understand why a black person might not want to admit they watch Friends in public.
Wait, so all y'all watch that show?
This is a Juneteenth horror movie, written and directed by black people, cast by mostly black people. This movie was directed by Tim Story, who directed Barbershop. That movie broke box office records in my dad's house. I saw this movie in theaters twice because I enjoyed it so much, and I love that I did because I got to also laugh along with a theater of mostly black people identifying with the same experiences I was identifying with. This movie worked for me as a horror movie because it had a decent amount of gore, had some fun kills, and some solid jump scares. And the comedy worked for me as well, as I've talked about at length. This cast chemistry is so rich, and I would love to see them perform together again. I know it's been talked about that they would be interested in maybe doing a sequel, kind of like a Knives Out setup where it's like a different environment, and I would be absolutely down for that. I love that most of the cast made it out. It's not generally what I look for in a horror movie, but I feel like it plays more into that wish fulfillment. And I loved having a very black horror movie in a very black setup that didn't rely on black trauma. Those stories have a right to exist, and I would prefer them to be written by black people. This was just fun and refreshing. This is a Juneteenth horror movie. Like that That idea would have never crossed my mind when I was a kid. Huge shout out to the team that worked on The Blackening. Huge shout out to 3Pete for birthing this idea. And huge shout out to you for making it to the end of this video. I love horror movies. I really want to do more horror related content on YouTube, and this was my first attempt. Let me know what you think. Unless it's mean, then keep it to yourself. I've always said I wanted to see more Black horror content creators, and I guess now I'm trying to be one. I would love to see your suggestions for other channels below. I follow a few, but I feel like I end up just seeing the same ones suggested. So let me know who you're watching and who you enjoy. I wanted to do this video a little bit before June so people could check it out as they're getting ready for Juneteenth. I hope non-Black horror content creators that are interested in covering this movie, I hope they do so in mind with maybe collaborating or uplifting a Black content creator. Oh well, anyway, that is all I have to say. If you want to see what else I do on the internet, you can follow me at Bianca Probably, not probably Bianca, literally Bianca Probably. Hope you stick around. Come back later. Take your shoes off before you come in. Get cozy. Goodbye.